Hey everyone, it's Lemon Kiwi and Leg Day, and you're watching the Overwatch League channel! Yay! And we're in the lower bracket where we're gonna have some exciting matches, and we're gonna have to say goodbye to some teams and taking away their chances to go to the mid-season madness.
Yeah, over in Group B, we've got 3 contenders teams down here and 1 Overwatch League team. So we've already seen our first Overwatch League team fall out of a lower bracket, the first team to be eliminated. Seoul Dynasty, not an amazing look for them. And Shanghai Dragons are feeling they are also in serious danger. But we start off with contenders versus contenders. We've got PANTHERA going up against Sin Prisa Gaming. And while you and I have mostly spent our time over in Group A, it's been hard to ignore the titanic amount of talent that's been on PANTHERA and all the upsets that have come from Sin Prisa as well. So these are definitely going to be some incredibly interesting matches. I think that this one's probably going to be the closer out of the two that we have to cast today.
Yeah, and this Group B has had the most mix-ups, the most game fives. Group A feels very top-heavy, but we're on the Group B side of things, and we had SPG, who's featured in our first match, the only contenders team to beat an Overwatch League team of going to game 5 against Shanghai and putting them into the lower bracket. You're going to see Shanghai go on their last life against O2 in our second, or well, I guess technically fourth match, but second match of Group B. And Dallas Jewel still managing to hang on. They're in the winners final against Seoul Infernal, who almost got reverse swept by O2 Blast, who are one of the most feared contenders teams, at least in this group.
Yeah, O2 Blast, feared the world over, actually, I think it's fair to say. It's a roster that no matter how many of the pieces you pick apart, it remains incredibly strong. If there was ever a candidate for a Shipper Theseus-style success in Overwatch, it's definitely O2 Blast. You keep taking away planks from the ship, adding new ones, but it remains just as dominant in a competitive setting. Focusing in on our first match, though, you're right. Sin Prisa in our knockouts, they did manage to get one over on Shanghai Dragons and have been able to take out one of those Overwatch League teams. PANTHERA less lucky when it comes to the draw lemon, going straight up against O2 Blast, their longtime rivals, and it was a fairly summary execution from O2 Blast for their old buddies on PANTHERA. Heading into our splash screen here. I do like the PANTHERA. Obviously, it's evoking a past. For those of you who've been with Overwatch Esports for a while, PANTHERA definitely evokes the old Kongdu rosters, both PANTHERA and Unsea, that so many of your favorites came from, like, say, Birdring and Rascal. Those both came from Kongdu, PANTHERA, and Unsea at different times. Sin Prisa, on the other hand, a much newer brand, much newer contender, as you'd say. They did very well last year, though. However, let's have a quick look at PANTHERA's roster to start off.
Yeah, PANTHERA have been through an evolution when it comes to their team. They started with Neist and Alien at the start of the season, at the start of the Open, then slowly started to integrate Becky in, who has become a mainstay alongside Neist as starters. Alien, you'll still see him come in on sniper specialist maps like Havana, but this has been the roster that they have locked in. And PANTHERA are no strangers to making improvements, to just getting better as things go. For example, when they faced Rose the first time in the Open, they lost, and then they substituted Becky in as a starter, and the second time they faced Rhodes, they won. So PANTHERA, they might start down, but really, the sky's the limit for them.
A big mix of expertise levels on this team as well. FaZe in particular, of course, has been part of basically every single Overwatch League season up until this one, and now, of course, is competing under the Contenders title. Starting off on the Los Angeles Valiant after being picked up as a pet project by Moon a while ago and then moved around subsequently. Certainly was one of the best players in the world, was a world champion with the Shanghai Dragons, and now was looking to recapture that glory with a squad that has a little bit less prestige behind it, but certainly as much talent as is needed. Becky, someone else you really need to zoom in on. The time on LA Valiant for Becky, while it was not littered with successes, it was littered with sparks of good performances from Becky. We definitely saw his potential on a squad that didn't do as well overall.
Great to see the big smiles on Fate's face and that brief moment. Former Shanghai Dragons tank wants that return to stardom as that prominent dive tank in APAC. It's someone that you can depend on as that solo tank. On the other side, there's multiple tanks on this roster, but one that we've seen for most of the time, it's 2U who has a heavy preference towards Rush, and SPG loving that composition around the Ramatra, the Junker Queen. They force it on a lot of maps, not just your control center. And then you have Aid and Aldo, and I think this suits especially Aldo's hero pool, playing so much Mei around 2U.
Yeah, although definitely Gary's modding it, having access to a map editor and bringing up those walls to make sure that everyone's forced to face down 2U. Before we were casting the opens, I mean, we did hear the legend that 2U was the greatest Junker Queen in Korea, and it feels like 2U has been taking every opportunity possible to try and make sure that that is the case, but of course we've seen the meta drifting towards the Ramatra. It started off very Winston heavy, but now SPG, they've never really been that Winston team. They're definitely trying to edge towards a far more brawly meta for everyone to try and meet them by forcing things like the Mei, which make supporting a dive a little bit more difficult for supports, and it can kind of drag people into a brawl versus brawl that SPG really want.
And Aid is an exciting player to watch. He's in the bottom left there. Very high peak potential, flexes around the Sojourn, Hanzo, and Soldier, I guess? But as we reveal our first map, Antarctic Peninsula, I'm very much favoring SPG, especially around their comfortability of the rush. They force it on so many maps. And the fact that on the other side, PANTHERA are very solidified around Fate's Winston and that dive potential. They do run the Fate Reinhardt every now and then, but it's not a big comfort pick to them, you know, compared to the Winston. So I'm wondering how PANTHERA are going to want to match that. How are they going to play against the Queen of SPG, or are they going to just ignore the Queen and go for everyone else around it?
Yeah, like you said, this is a big clash of styles, and you can see the blank maps in our map set as well. Remember, we are in loser picks here in the knockouts. It's not the same as we have in Overwatch League regular season, either with our opens or our qualifiers for the East, and over, of course, in NA, they are doing regular map sets. However, here, you can pick where you go to when you lose the previous map. So we're going to see both of our teams really leaning into their identities.
Ooh. That's my girl. She got the pipes.
She loves some SPG.
I love her so much. So yeah, Antarctic, you got the Fate Ramatra, so he's a lot more around the Reinhardt, but thinking he has to brawl against the Junker Queen. That shield of the Reinhardt is gonna blow up. Becky on the Hanzo, facing off against 8 Soldier. I told you this was weird, and it's gonna come out, and it's a speedy approach from PANTHERA on the left side, and SPG concede that high ground already.
Aid might be able to try and get behind Fate here to try and get damage around the block that comes out during the Nemesis form. The Soldier, of course, is an interesting pick. I definitely think the Hanzo is more effective when it comes to the danger that it provides in controlling space, and that's going to be easily able to get Fate over onto the point, and I doubt that SPG are going to go for a real early contest, but TU puts himself in a danger zone.
Ooh, 2U almost got walled off there by Nice. Speaking of that Mei, this is really going to enable Fate, and the fact that you lack that Mei on SPG. I was really expecting Aldo to pull that out, but needing that backline pressure seems to be the win condition for SPG. PANTHERA did cap the point, and now they have 2U up against the wall. Aldo is threatening Becky, and now with Slee having the amplification matrix up, able to heal everyone up, and SPG just can't seem to get any space going.
Yeah, Fate keen to chase that speed boost, and the slow in conjunction is going to make sure 2U has nowhere to go but straight back to Hades. And Aid thus far, I do wonder what... He's all the way in the back line. He's doing some guerrilla warfare back here from the Soldier 76. It's a truly confusing position, but hey, now that you're behind Fate, you can do huge amounts of damage to that Nemesis form. Here, if you're PANTHERA, you might want to take a far faster fight, try and get that 4 versus 5 against SPG, but there is a bit of a hunt going on beforehand.
No eliminations yet from SPG. Already 55% and more, and Age just can't run fast enough. And the Soldier pick is so interesting. It's an independent DPS, but just that trickle damage, the lack of burst is what is going to hurt Aid and the rest of SPG, who are also now missing Wu-Chan, and you couldn't even go for a Kitsune Rush fight without him. Now we're approaching 70% plus.
However, SPG approaching critical mass when it comes to those ultimates. The same could be said for PANTHERA. I hope you warmed up, Lemon, already, because this one might be an all-out fight. We could see ourselves a 9-ult battle coming through, as SPG are going to desperately make a grab for the point soon, as time is not on their side.
I think PANTHERA just play clumped, play off the Blizzard contact. There is the tactical visor plus Kitsune Rush. and Panthera just seemed overwhelmed. They're caught out in the open. They disengaged at weird angles. Becky was exposed in the middle of the map, and Aid punishes the rest of Panthera, who step up just to stall to the 99% mark. But an expensive fight from SPG, 2 or 3 ultimates to Panthera's only Blizzard.
And that Becky exposure was actually manufactured by Aldo as well, making sure to actually take an early fight onto Becky to force them out of where they would have had cover against the Kitsune Rush Tactical Visor. 3 ultimates used for SPG and Panthera. They called that one a little bit early after losing Becky, so not a huge investment from them. Controlling space is going to be easy with the amplification matrix, but SPG, of course, a hyper-mobile composition that can always play from a different angle.
Becky can split up this fight with the Dragon Strike, but has to deal with the rush of 2U. And he did get a good anti-heal in. Soundbeer first from Youngjun, and then the Soundbeer second from Hyunjae. A small advantage for SPG despite lacking a tank. They need to keep that presence on the point too, because Panthera at 99%. You don't have Wu-Chan, ain't got a lot of heals. 2U is around the corner on Doomfist. Touching though at the back is Aldo, who is getting chased around by probably a Lucio. But SPG able to keep this wick burning. Becky is healed back up. SPG just haven't had a threatening presence whatsoever until they had ultimates, and they're lacking bodies on this objective. 2U will be there, but really not for long. Panthera are making quite a statement in this first map.
Becky brought down to 4 HP, although can finish it off, but unfortunately there simply is not enough here for SPG. The touch cannot come through. 100 to 42% it finishes off with, and we thought that SPG here would be able to really start to get something rolling in Rush versus Rush, which is definitely their preferred comp versus Panthera, who are kind of acquiescing to the meta that's been solidifying here on Antarctic Peninsula. They've been a lot more into playing the Winston instead, playing these dive maps. And SPG are going to have problems if they can't win in a Rush versus Rush against this team. Slee's been doing amazingly. We've confirmed that that is indeed how it's pronounced, the Old Baptiste for Panthera. The Y is superfluous. It's a vestigial consonant, Lemon. Currently 6k healing done in the first round, and that's 14.6k per 10 if you extrapolate it all the way. Insane.
I'm glad Aldo's back on the Mei. I felt like that would have enabled 2U so much better in the previous map. He also got out-damaged by a Mei while being on a Tracer, which is peculiar, but SPG just kept getting first blood, and now it's maybe a fight better for them, although 2U is walled off, has the immortality, he's back on his feet. They do back away. Panthera put the pressure on and start to surround them. This will be a free kill onto Aldo. Maybe Becky could have hit the headshot, and Aldo is finished off, but Becky had to overcommit to confirm that kill. As you're left in a 4-on-4, the point still uncapped. SPG rotating there, but hot on their trail is Panthera, finishing off that tank and capping the objective.
Interesting if Ada is moving over onto the Sombra to maybe try and help out a little bit more in that tank fight. Undervaluing the direct damage onto the tank, and in a Ramattra versus Ramattra, there's certainly something to be said of going for that hack to momentarily disable the block during Nemesis form, which can make a Ramattra who's made a miscalculation in how much they can survive a little bit more vulnerable.
Alright, it's the ram off between 2U and Fate, but Amp Matrix up first by Slee, and this just hoses down SPG, forced to go to the low ground. Right on top of them is the Blizzard. SPG just almost have enough speed. 2U pops the Annihilation, able to make contact with his team to get healed back up. SPG have a beautiful response to this Blizzard, not getting a single member frozen. Now SPG put their toes on that objective. They have the Ant Matrix of Wu-Chan to try and keep their tank back up. 2U is barely holding on. The Annihilation of Fate is dismantling SPG, who couldn't finish off Fate, who dropped down to 50. Blizzard this time from Aldo, needing to commit more ults is SPG, not satisfied with their performance thus far, hoping to make a bigger splash here in point B until the barrier of Youngjun is committed.
Youngjun makes sure that everyone from Panthera can hold tight to their fight here. EMP ready to go, only grabs one, that's nice, who's instantly emoed.
65 plus Panthera are able to extend this fight for as long as possible. And the Ant Matrix at the end too from Slee, seeing that 2U is exposed. He's coming into this, and he walks right into the Blizzard of Nice. But SPG still don't get frozen. These are great speed calls by Hyunjae. And Wu-Chan, though, under pressure. Fate able to confirm that kill, which should confirm the point for Panthera. But SPG have never given up, as SPG did get a momentary flip, but it's back to Panthera at 71+.
He'd had to TP out, could not continue contesting that, and now Panthera, they're in one-fight territory for the entire map! What in the world? Becky simply lines it up, calm as a cucumber, and Aid, red and dead.
Panthera, one last fight to take map 1, and against my expectations, considering I thought SPG were just such a confident rush team, but you can't go up. Fate proves that he is just one of the most flexible tanks, and Fate and Panthera wall off SPG from their route towards the point. SPG have to take the long way around. Not a lot of ults, overtime into effect. SPG have to take the fight on that objective. Ant Matrix from Wu-Chan will separate Panthera, force them into cover. SPG can go for a flip here, and Panthera won't have much to say about it. But Panthera have to play so perfectly from here on out.
Panthera, they made the decision to give away that point in exchange for the barrier, or rather the window from the Baptiste. Coming in now is Fate. Has Vermeil dead to rights, and everyone else is going to be here too. That's an emergency blizzard, but it's very necessary.
Yeah, you freeze up Fate and you try to slow down this annihilation, but it's 2U needs to annihilate this objective, but he's not getting enough support. EMP does nothing. Annihilation, nothing for SPG. You break glass, you bring out the fire extinguisher, but it's SPG that ignite in flames, and Panthera will take game 1.
Oh my goodness, this is about Slee. At the end of this round is up to 15.7k healing per 10 on the Baptiste. Excellent immortality fields, making sure that Fate is never really overextended, and that there's always something in the back pocket to try and keep that tank alive. And it felt like overall the fight planning from Panthera a little bit more coherent. SPG, we saw them having to use that blizzard as a little bit of a "oh no, save me" moment, when really it should have been a good fight planning to go for disengages when they see something like an amplification matrix they don't need to fight into as well.
Well, Panthera, they take game 1, and might be a nice cold map, but their gameplay is on fire. I'm looking forward to seeing what SPG will pick as their map after this break. Welcome back, everyone, to the knockouts. We're gonna knock out some teams today, and Panthera 2 maps away from doing that to SPG, and I can't believe it. It's been a wild game one on Antarctic. Panthera taking that 2-0, but it's SPG's map pick next.
SPG will get to decide what hybrid map they're going to be taking on Panthera for, and curiously, Lemon, we teed up this match as a bit of a clash of styles. SPGV love themselves some Rush, they love some Ram, they love some Junker Queen. On the other side, Fate, of course, famous for his Winston World Champion stage winner in Stage 4 2018 on the Winston, if you want to cast back your mind into the aeons, the Dwarven runic history that's written on the tablets. And, well, going Rush versus Rush. Fate came out on the Ramatra and still absolutely pummeled 3 deaths across the entirety of Antarctic Peninsula and plenty of damage done.
Just the way that Panthera played was insanely proactive. First, they won the first fight of both maps. I hated the soldier at the end of the day. It was cute when it had an ultimate and it had a Kitsune Rush. I hope you win a fight with Kitsune Rush plus DPS ultimate. But the way that Panthera won first fight and were proactive, the way that they approached, they kind of overextended, play off the May wall, and just chase SPG around. Like, Panthera owned the map and SPG were trespassing. But this is SPG's next map, Hollywood. This is the map they won against the Shanghai Dragons. So SPG very confident in this pick.
However, this is also exactly where Panthera would have wanted to go, Lemon. This is where Winston is at his strongest, especially on second point. You talked about that proactivity, being able to control when the fight happens and where it happens. That might be what defines how SPG plays here on Hollywood. It's all about being able to control engagements from that high ground and then moving into a preferential fight. SPG are going to have to be a little bit more acute and precise with how they're doing their fight planning, because if Panthera continue to outbrain them when it comes to when and where these fights are happening, what resources are being forced out early, SPG will continue to falter.
SPG kind of figuring out their compositions, right? Not playing the May from Aldo on the first map of Labs to now playing the May, and then the Blizzards never really froze anything. And honestly, that was better counterplay from Panthera at that moment, but SPG's ult efficiency, the value that they got out of it, not all there. But the fans are.
But possible to hear across all of Seoul, Korea, SPG certainly would be feeling in their bones the vigor of support that has been pushed to them from our fans over there in the WDG arena. And of course, fighting for a spot at LAN as well are all of these teams' mid-season madness. The siren song does call Lemon, as we're going to see a little bit of scouting here from Nice as Panthera, of course, playing the dive.
Yeah, this is not SPG's bread and butter, and not being able to turn around in time. Wu Chan also not positioned inside the 2U bubble, which is nicely placed in the choke just to be able to peek around the corner. With the Reaper 2 of Aid, you're going to lack flexibility. Of course, not having a lot of range on the character means it's really important to rotate well, and Aid will find that out the hard way. And goes off a Widow swap to maybe just punish someone overextending here from Panthera, but back to the Reaper.
Let's expand on your point of Aid here. Yes, the range is super important here, and you could really punish Fate, but what it does give up is that Becky is going to be very uncontested on the Tracer. There's not really going to be a dueling flanker to deal with them.
Oh, that anti from Slee hit Hyunjae and Wu Chan, which slowed down SPG's coalescence, or really just conversions on that high ground. Bit of a disconnect, and you saw that lack of healing onto Aldo. 2U was feeling the pain without Wu Chan, and SPG were split up really before the fight started, and that was a great nade by Slee.
Now Becky removing Aid at the end though, and Youngjin has almost returned. One player from SPG will start to tick up towards the first, and indeed it will come through from Hyunjae. But both supports on the scene though, there's plenty of time for Panthera to try and stage the yet another attack, and Fate's going to be able to quickly join the Meist, almost as the EMP. If that can come up in this fight, it could be fight winning.
Oh, Youngjin just already pressured there by SPG, who have just completely given up this objective just to make sure they can win the fight and support 2U on the front lines. And like you said, once they put Aid in position on the Reaper, getting that double kill is what opened up this opportunity for SPG. but they're also now behind the defense and at these off angles, just needing the right call and needing 2U to get back in the picture, who can dive from the front side. It goes to the high ground where Youngjun and Slee are. EMP follows up from Nice, and SPG are caught off guard by the ultimates from Panthera on their approach, and SPG didn't make much of a splash with their own.
Aid tries to spin to win, but quickly shut down by Slee. A well-placed sleep to make sure that vulnerable Death Blossom gets nothing. And Panthera made a great rotation up onto the opposite high ground there as well, knowing that SPG, they need to rotate to get that real value out of their composition. I'm hoping Panthera strike first again here, because striking before SPG can get Aid into a good position is how they win.
Oh, the hack, and then Fade jumps in with the Nano, has the Primal. He can stay for as long as he wants. Wants to conserve the ultimate, especially against a Reaper that can just blow you up so quickly. Kitsune Rush from SPG, who now want to enter the arena where the Gladiators sit. They want that final tick. Panthera are contesting. It's up to Becky to rotate around. Sound barrier from Hyunjae. He's able to still deliver the sound barrier, but SPG's ultimates are just causing disruption and maybe a bit of space, but no kills quite yet.
Wu-Chan super low. If he gets taken out, that's most of the healing gone. Becky's taking out Hyunjae as well. To you, quick to join them in the grave. And what a play there from Panthera, realizing they can't fight a Kitsune rushed Reaper on the point. It's simply unsurvivable, especially for Fate. So we have Becky do some excellent tip and tap, making sure that that point never gets flipped over. And it allows them to wait out the resources of SPG and generate a crossfire around them that cannot be dealt with simultaneously. As TU heads over to the Junker Queen, backed up by the Moira. This is all in on the rush lemon. They need to fight on point, but will Panthera give them that fight?
This is going to turn into an SBG. Bad game if they do not cap this point. What is happening to them? This is the favorite team who are seconds away from getting full held by Panthera on a map that favors SPG. They won this against the Dragons. You lose this against Panthera, no shot, right? EMP from Nice as SPG walk in. They lose their main healer on contact, and Aid is trying to coordinate with the rest. Has to fall back for heals, and the anti from Slee just punishes SPG, and there is no shot they can get this final tick. It's only although that is left Hyunjae, who sped out a spawn, and that's all she wrote for SPG's offense.
I can't believe out of 2 Death Blossoms, we've seen 0 kills from it. Slee did so well to shut down the first one. In that other fight as well, sleeping the Primal Rage, Slee has done so much. She's only slept 2 enemies, but both of them have been incredibly important. One of the things I really want to zoom in on here in my attempt to just absolutely sing the praises of a flex support, 5 Baltic grenade kills as well from Slee. They've often been what have signaled Panthera to start off these points, and Fate has been surviving super well as well, considering how much pressure he is under against these Reaper-centric rushes.
And speaking of survival, I'm not seeing that from Wu-Chan and Hyunjae, and that's all thanks to Slee, which you gave all those compliments out for the right reasons. Even that was off the first fight of the anti. The second fight, there was another disconnect. Wu-Chan is just targeted by Fate or the Nice EMP. Again, just off of this replay, Wu-Chan and Hyunjae are always the first targets, the first to fall, and without that healing, you're not going to get anything done by SPG. So this is great coordination by Panthera, who are just playing out of their minds. So it's less about SPG not playing at their peak, although I think they are capable of better, but it's Panthera that have just downloaded their opponent.
Becky's on an absolute tear today as well. Be it on the Hanzo or on the Tracer. Currently 10 final blows. Next highest in the entire lobby is Fate with 5. It's not quite a deadlift just yet, though. SPG playing the dishonest 7-man comp with both Vatara and Bob waiting in reserve to make sure that no one ever gets an equal battle. Nice swaps over onto the Hanzo, which is a fairly well-informed swap against this particular composition. Means you can force Aid off of these angles. Becky, though, is going to have a little bit more trouble up against Vatara, which is going to make sure he can never really find a fair fight onto one of these squishy backline members.
Yeah, Aid's going to be setting up in the back mini area, while as Nice Hanzo can climb up easily to this first high ground section. Fate on the Diva can easily enable this dive, and Nice hits a headshot onto Aid. 5v4 opens up the point for Panthera. They push SPG up against the wall, and anti from Slee just gets them even more kills. SPG are down 2, and they've given up a tick. They need to bring back their presence to the objective, but there's still waiting for Aldo to pick the right DPS. Wu-Chan is low and collapsed on by Panthera. Second tick confirmed by this attacking team, and within the first fight, Panthera will seal the deal, and they're about to go to match point. Tuyo maybe gets a 3K over on the Mega Pack side and contests at the last second, but it doesn't matter. Panthera go to match point.
Nice, getting 3 final blows in that fight as well. He's looking like a British longbowman at Agincourt, baby. Unbelievable Hanzo play coming through from a DPS, and Panthera, they say, hey, if you want to drag us to a map where we feel super comfortable, where dive is at its best, where the setups from high ground are so sublimely crafted, we don't mind if you do that for us, Sin Prisa. How lovely a tribute you have given over to us as match point slips into the hands of Panthera, and Sin Prisa Gaming can feel the temptation, the dream, the far-flung reality of mid-season mana start to slip away.
Nice is this secret carry on this team. The Mei that the Panthera were able to play off of contact, the initial headshot on the Hanzo to open up that offense at the end. It's easy peasy lemon squeezy when you got Nice on your team, and I'm very surprised the fact that Dreamers 3-0 earlier on against Seoul Dynasty, who looked back on top. Panthera are apparently close to 3-0ing SPG. This is insane to me.
Could be a real quick day here, Lemon. Panthera walk away with map number 2. SPG had any points thus far. It's goose eggs all along the bottom. Will it remain so dismal for SPG? You could find out by sticking around.
Panthera are on match point, the second seed coming out of Group B, a team that struggled against the #1 team of APAC, of Rhodes, and went the distance against others. It's surprising, but awesome to see this upset starting to form.
Indeed, Panthera in Contenders Korea would be considered a far higher seed than Sin Prisa, but Sin Prisa come in from a higher seed, having been able to take out Shanghai Dragons. And Lemon, this is quite worrying for Shanghai Dragons fans. Yeah, Shanghai Dragons were taken out, but it was quite a close game. But Shanghai Dragons were taken out by Sin Prisa, and Sin Prisa were doing like this against Panthera, and Panthera got destroyed by O2 Blast. For transfer of property here would not give me much hope for Shanghai Dragons against O2 Blast, if any did initially exist. We're going to head over now onto Escort. This is once again the map pick of SPG. And hey, the dive didn't work, so let's go back to the rush, baby.
The ram-off continues, where Fate diffed in that moment. We'll see. It was off of kind of the proactive plays of Nice May. But to the Panthera point, yeah, kind of an equal seed when it comes to SPG in different groups when it came to qualifying to the APAC Open, to being in a different group in the Open, to matching up now in the knockouts. SPG were, quote, the favorite team just out of being able to beat Shanghai, out of just the whispers out of Korea. This is a team that was supposed to impress, and we're in the lower bracket, so just not being able to perform on the day is not going to be a good enough excuse, because there's only one mid-season spot per bracket on the line.
Yeah, so Group A and Group B each will only spit forth one champion onto the stage of Seoul careers, going down in Tex Goyang. I believe there are tickets on sale somewhere. So we head over to Shambali Monastery. This will be SPG's last chance.
They need all of your energy, and SPG return to a rush map. This is what they're best at, the ram off. And now that they have Aldo on the May, this will enable 2U just so much better. 8 is on his signature Sojourn to be able to jump out of these hairy situations. But up close and personal is Panthera on the close spawn hold. On this left side, SPG have their backs against the wall. Panthera hold their May wall. They use it defensively. 2U tried to almost drop on the other side of it. Had to summon out the immortality of Wuchan. 2U is just losing this tank battle and just not being so far away from spawn that SPG can't even go back to heal.
Yeah, SPG might have to consider moving over onto the Symmetra here. That's often what breaks for spawn holds, using that TP to really cross by the hostile architecture, which is being utilized by every spawn camping team to continually rotate around and give over physical cover to allow your healers time to catch up with damage done.
Yeah, just odd rotations from SPG, not being within arm's reach of their spawn, and Becky delivers the final blows yet again. As SPG, you can't just run away from Panthera. You gotta fight them face to face, and if you split yourself off from spawn, you're not gonna have the spawn advantage, where you have that amazing healing. SPG are not approaching this Ray.
Aid moves away now from a Sojourn. Oh wait, moves back to the Sojourn after quickly spying where someone might be hiding using the Sonic Arrow. Fair enough. Maybe we need to see a little bit more utility here out of all those walls to try and isolate a target.
Now, because SPG have blown 2 fights, it's an amplification matrix, the first ultimate of the game from Panthera that doesn't get any kills, but rather zones off SPG, shaves down a few seconds, almost half the time bank gone. Annihilation from Fate to stuff SPG back in those spawn room doors. Aldo almost closes himself off, but he's back in, and a kill is still claimed on Wuchan.
Now 2U though holds this fight in his hands. He can be the hero for SPG and for all SPG fans trying to break this with the Annihilation. You've got to worry about the Blizzard though. That's the first port of call to try and shut it down in Nice hands, ready to go.
Yeah, Becky closes off the one doorway with the Dragon Strike. SPG just really are unable to touch some grass, and still unable, now that Hyunjae is down. SPG will have some ultimates. Expect this Blizzard to drop, but Youngjun is going to have this downloaded. will have the speed to get Panthera out of the sticky situation. SPG got the jump on him. Blizzard thrown right into Panthera's face. Nice, throws his down too. Neither team can really react to each other's ultimates. They're canceled out. SPG Annihilation as plan B. Countered by the sound barrier of Youngjun. Panthera continue to keep SPG at bay till SPG break through the threshold. The focus fire overwhelming the tank of Fate. And SPG just using more ults and getting finally a fight win.
Hey, finally, if you use 3 ults in a fight, turns out that you win it quite a bit of the time. I think Nice might have been a little bit early there. Reactive Blizzard to what Aldo threw out and actually didn't catch anyone but the enemy Mei, who was easily able to slip into Ice Block and move away from the freezing tendrils, but it does provide, and it meant that there was nothing to really shut down 2U once the Annihilation came out afterwards. Now, though, you have to stick pretty close to the cart with only 50 seconds left, and that means you could be stuck within the window of Slee.
Yeah, Slee could just wait for SPG to be a bit more committed here, and you don't even need to use the ultimate considering Wu-Chan is dead again. Without those heals, SPG, this is an unwinnable fight, especially for 2U, who's had issues going toe-to-toe with Fate.
Yeah, the later we get into this time bank, the less options SPG have for their positioning, as they have to be increasingly tethered to the cart, and the more effective that window will become. And the same could be said of Fate's ultimate. The Annihilation, when you have to touch the cart, absolutely brutal.
Man, Fate is just running after them, and SPG cowering in a corner. And they need a good push here if they want to stay alive in the series. 8 on an off angle with the overclock forces Panthera back. Rounding the corner, Slee's Amp Matrix is no longer an issue, but Fate's Annihilation is the key to success for this defense. Overtime into effect, it is 2U who is walled off. Wall is gone. Amp Matrix is time from Wu-Chan. Panthera able to easily round the corner, but the kills still go SPG's way. A huge elimination from Hyunjae to take out that Hanzo of Becky at an off angle. But the front battle easily won by Panthera. Annihilation plus Blizzard equals the death of SPG, but at range, Hyunjae is getting massive kills on the Lucio to keep SPG in a competitive situation. And is also able to heal aid, and now it's a Lucio off, where SPG just get nothing done.
Oh, for these two boys having a frog off, and unfortunately Hyunjae couldn't make it around the wall. Fate was simply able to do so much damage with the Annihilation. And when it came down to the 2 versus 2, the target focus was strong. I know I'm getting a weird feeling of deja vu from the fall of Seoul Dynasty here. It's a very similar expectation. I love that Panthera actually chose to take a much earlier fight than I anticipated using the window, because it forced SPG to use the overclock to buy all that space back. The forward positioning Panthera took, it needed to be gripped away, and that meant that SPG could not combine their own amplification matrix and overclock in a long sightline that they'd more like to try and play with that Sojourn and decimate Panthera. Great accounting, really, of the win conditions SPG had.
I think Nice continues to be a star in my eyes. 10-1, a singular death on that defense. And just having almost the most amount of damage on his team, minus, you know, the Fate, Ramatra. But that's impressive to do on a Mei. To just not put yourself in a vulnerable position. But that was a deadly spawn hole by Panthera. Now the box of victory just at the corner of A. Very doable for Panthera. And last life on the line for SPG. We're in lower bracket. They're going to be staying home if they don't do more about this.
Oh, nice. Please let it be real. A close-range powerhouse and a Junkrat with a damage boost. I love damage boost, actually, as a method for trying to break spawn camps. I think the damage boost is underrated. No instant kill coming through from a mine nade combo. So a quick swap away and... oh, classic dive. We're going Apex here. We truly are Kongdu today, aren't we, Panthera?
Okay, diving right onto Hyunjae and Wu-Chan. Nice and Youngjun working together on rotation. Slee with the anti on top. This is surgical precision from Panthera, showing off a masterclass of dive. And SPG only claiming a singular kill out of that is... not great. Panthera, one fight away from sweeping SPG out of knockouts.
Yeah, that spawn hold is at its best when we're trying to be transiting towards the cart, so Panthera simply minimize their transit time with a dive. Great planning there. The swap over to the Junker Queen here might be troublesome for Fate. The Junker Queen almost a direct counter, and there's a lot of pain on the board here for the Winston, but this gives a lot of space for Becky to try and work the margins.
All right, SPG, they drop down on main because they got to contest around this corner. And playing up close and personal is going to favor Aiden to you. As you said, Ante onto 2U is just going to keep him solidified around this corner and not go any further. PANTHERA approaching some big ultimates though. Pulse Bomb available. SPG have to keep cycling on this cart. They can't be too distracted. 2U cannot go anywhere but this corner. PANTHERA just building up towards some ultimates, and SPG have a Moira. This isn't gonna be a lot of utility. Hyunjae, the sound barrier to go up against the Dragon Blade is going to be big. PANTHERA very low on health. Fate is Nano trying to force SPG to C9 the cart. Hyunjae with the sound barrier. Nice can wait this out and go for the blade, but so much space just got acquired by SPG due to that support ultimate.
Oh, Becky comes back. Now on the Sombra. Fate's just trying to pretend. What are you doing over there? Here's the blade. This is silly.
Yeah, with the blade, the barrier, it's just too much. As in, it's, sorry, not enough. It's SPG's healing that is too much at that moment. Who now can conserve those 3 last ultimates. A Rampage, a Coalescence. Although, needs to have a bigger, like, just be louder in this series. And this Pulse Bomb could be what helps SPG out a little bit.
A big collective brain fart there to try and take that fight. 4 versus 5 still. They wanted to do it to have a whole comp swap here. As Fate moves over to Ramatra. Rampage ready to go, Lemon.
Double shotguns in his face, though. You can block all you want, but PANTHERA need to do more, and maybe building up towards the Nano is how PANTHERA are just simply have to zone them off. They don't have to win the fight. 2U is removed. The Rampage not used in time. SPG just have to use the mobility. Backline pressure there from Aldo. Misses the Pulse Bomb. Muchan missing. SPG with barely any heals. The Lucio of Hyunjae is slept, and PANTHERA have done it. They have swept SPG out of the bracket.
A Poison Dart Frog Nano of victory. SPG left in ruins. Overall, a strong swap there from PANTHERA. Fate goes in, uses the Primal. Does feed his brains out, to be honest. I think he could have just swapped back to Spawn, but they wanted to see if they could maybe find that knockaway C9 kind of objective victory, but swapping to Ramatra made so much sense there. The Moira needs to be close to deliver that healing with the Biotic Spray, and he knows that if 2U uses his shout to go forward and try and catch a Carnage, but a Ravenous Vortex behind him, slow him down, and there's no way that the healing will be enough to keep that Jungle Queen alive. Great play from Fate to try and outdo 2U while we had Becky and nice work in the margins.
And Fate is just such a great leader for this team, and we talked about the evolution of PANTHERA throughout the APAC Open to now knockouts, having Alien making a roster change of having Becky and Nice as starters on a more permanent side, and they just look explosive. Went from losing to Rhodes to beating Rhodes, went from not being a favorite against SPG to sweeping them in a one-sided fashion. PANTHERA much deserving to go into the lower bracket semifinal where they await the winner of Shanghai Dragons and O2 Blast.
There is the dream alive, but maybe we could see Fate versus his old coach Moon be like, yo, why did you let me go? But unlikely to happen. What is likely, though, is that you find out our player of the match is indeed Becky, the flanker specialist, playing a bunch of Tracer throughout today, and a little bit of a Hanzo too. No matter what he's on, though, you know that he's more than a match for the SPG DPS. It's been quite the game from Becky.
I've just been so happy to see more Becky and just how much this roster has looked better with him. I just spoke about this. Even before this series started, when the cam showed for PANTHERA, everyone was laughing, smiles, the vibes are good. If you enjoy playing with each other, you want to improve with each other, and you could tell that PANTHERA are putting into work to become not only just a top 4 team, but potentially a top 2 team in Korea. And we have these dark horses in Korea, whether it's Dreamers 3-0ing Seoul Dynasty to now PANTHERA 3-0ing SPG. These are teams that you have to watch out for that come in as a, quote, lower seeds, but clearly are hustling like top seeds.
Dreams of revenge for PANTHERA. Not wishing to be embarrassed by O2 Blast again in a 0-3 fashion. There's too much skill on this roster to whimper quietly and sail into the good night. No. They fight, they claw, they scratch, and they greed potentially a chance to represent themselves and their nation and contenders as well at Mid-Season Madness. SPG was unfortunately just an innocent pawn that stood in their way and was summarily swept aside.
And I think what was important, why Becky adds so much to this roster, is because Panthera needed a solid Tracer. It was sort of Nice picking that up, but Nice is more of this flex player, and Tracer is in his hero pool, but not to the level that Becky is. And I think that's a huge reason why Becky has gotten a lot more playtime. Having a very good Tracer has been important in Overwatch since the dawn of time, and we've seen what happens to teams that have mid Tracers, and how much Panthera have made a difference having Becky in this lineup. Like you said, mostly on the Tracer, but also other things on the Hanzo, which you saw in Antarctic. And Becky has been amazing today. All of Panthera so well coordinated, especially on Hollywood, especially on Shambali. Their dives were surgical. They were insane. They're looking like an owl team out here. And you see Becky's stats, they speak for themselves.
Indeed they do. Like you said, Tracer, since the dawn of competitive Overwatch, from eras of Soon and Tivik, Tracer was relevant. And now, 6-7 years later, 8 years almost, during that only watch era, still Tracer is relevant, but also Tracer, Hanzo seem to be the most necessary DPS, and Becky can play them both, which is even more value to squeeze out of a singular player, allowing Nice to slip into these more niche picks like the Mage to support the rush and make sure that Fate continually is able to get one over on his opponents, whether it's 2U or any other tank that dares to stand up against him. The ult efficiency of a bunch of Dragon Strikes, pretty good, and I believe we've got ourselves an interview going on soon, so Unknown, tell us what's going on, buddy.
네, 베키 선수와 인터뷰 진행해보겠습니다. 안녕하세요.
Hi, Becky.
안녕하세요.
네,
Hello.
승리 차지하신 판테라 팀의 베키 선수와 인터뷰인데요. 일단 승리 축하드립니다. 소감이 어떠신가요?
Congrats on your win. How do you feel?
일단 깔끔하게 3대 0으로 이겨서 기분 굉장히 좋은 것
I
같아요.
think this was a clean 3-0 win, so I feel really confident there.
네, 어느 정도 예상하고 있었어요.
Did you expect a 3-0? To a certain point. So what was
저희가 O2한테
what made you kind of feel that confidence?
좀 허무하게 지고 저희 나름대로 그래도 엄청 열심히 연습을 계속 해가지고.
So after that loss against O2 Blast, we kind of regrouped together as a team. We kind of figured out what was wrong, and we tried to adjust them as much as possible. So I guess that's where the confidence came in.
뭐 페이트 형이 얘기할 때도 있고 코치님.
So who makes the calls on your team?
뭐 근데 다 같이.
Well, most of the times Fate makes a lot of the calls, but in the end, it's situational. A lot of the most of the team does their part on the shot calling. So I realized that during the match that you made a quick swap to D.Va Hanzo Echo. Whose call was that? I mean, it was prepared as a team, so it was like situational. If the opponent does this, we go that, and it was everything was kind of pre-planned before the match.
막 무조건 받을 거라는 생각 안 했는데.
Did you expect yourself to get the player of the match? I didn't think that I would be like 100% getting the player of the match, but I thought it would be at least one of the DPS duos. So maybe a message to Nice that you took away the player of the match for? Well, I mean, you didn't get the player of the match today, but you know, let's scrape some more wins together. So you seem pretty close with Nice. Is there like a special relationship between you? Well, I mean, we are at the same age, so we kind of hang out together.
계속 다 같이 이기려고 열심히 으쌰으쌰해서 뭐 분위기는 엄청 좋은 것 같아요.
How's the atmosphere at the team? So everyone's kind of pushing each other so that we can win as a team. So it's the vibes at the team are really good.
오늘 경기처럼 이렇게 순항하실 수 있다고 예상을 하시나요? 어느 정도 자신감이 있으신가요?
일단 진다는 생각은 아예
So coming to your next match, how do you feel?
만나든 뭐 어느 팀을 만나든.
Well, I mean, whether it be O2 or anyone else, I don't think that we'll lose really easily, but we'll prepare nonetheless.
아무래도 O2를 또 이번에 첫 경기 만났고 아마 O2가 올라가게 되면 다음 패자조 경기에서 만날 정도로 O2랑 좀 연이 깊어졌는데 O2에게 약간 좀 한마디 할 수 있나요?
So you've been going against O2 Blast a lot this season. Do you have any message to them?
저번에는 3대 0으로 뭐 허무하게 졌지만
네.
이번에 다시 만나게 되면은 3대 0으로 질 것 같다.
Well, I mean, we did lose 0-0-3 last time, but this time we'll return the favor 3-0.
네.
그렇습니다. 그리고 이제 오늘 경기를 한번 다시 돌아봤을 때 좀 어떤 승부의 분수령이 됐던 세트나 플레이가 있었다면 어떤 게 있을까요?
So looking back at today's match, what was the most important moment of today's match?
제 1세트 2라운드 한조도 그 뽐바라 땄을 때
So I think it was round 2 of map 1 where I just insta-killed Sombra with that Hanzo head kill.
그야말로
Headshot.
자신감이 넘칠 수밖에 없는 오늘 백희 선수의 그런 컨디션이었어요.
또 승부의 분수령이 내가 또 선물을 잡았을 때
Yeah, I think that would have been a
정말 멋진
much
장면
needed
많이
confidence
봤고요.
boost.
마지막으로 또 이제 판테라를 응원하시는 분들이 굉장히 많아요. 실제로 판테라 보겠다고 믿으시는 메디스표도 미리 좀 예매하신 분들도 있는데
그렇죠.
팬들한테
So last
한마디
question, we did notice one of the fans got mid-season madness tickets just because they thought Panthera will make it to mid-season madness. Do you have any message to the fans? I mean, we'll definitely do well and prepare to win. And back to you, Lemon.
Thanks so much, Unknown. My bracket is just in the bin. How does SPG go from beating Shanghai to losing to Panthera? How does Dreamers go from losing to Poker Face to sweeping Seoul Dynasty? Nothing makes sense.
It's nothing makes sense, Lemon, but I'm ready to return to what everyone's expecting as normality in our next match. It's going to be our red-on-red derby, and of course O2 Blast coming in as somehow heavy favorites against an Overwatch League team. These guys have only lost against Seoul Inferno, almost completing a reverse sweep against Shanghai Dragons, who thus far have been having a stinker of a season. We could see our second Overwatch League team fall. However, if you want to see if that's going to be the reality, stick around during our break.